Hi, and welcome back to the whole podcast KC. Today we have Clayton Porter, who is a whole person employee who we will be interviewing today. So let's jump right in. Hey, Clayton, how are you today?
I am well, counting my blessings anyway.
Absolutely. So how long have you been with the whole person?
This is my third stint, and cumulatively, probably 22, 23 years.
Okay, so I remember when I first started, you weren't here.
Uh huh.
And then you were here, and then I remember, I Uber a lot, and I had an Uber driver who told me about you, and I was like, "Oh, I guess he's not there anymore." And then when you came back, I was like, "Oh, this is who he was talking about." So, what have been some of your best experiences here at the Whole Person?
I think a lot of it is working with people, working with uh, people who have similar experiences. Uh, it's a different vibe when you work with non disabled people primarily, and that's harder to explain than to express.
Right, I can certainly understand that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So that's probably one thing that is different and good.
And how has the Whole Person helped you in your journey?
I just saw that question and I was thinking about it. I think program wise, probably nothing. I think employment wise, yes, I've been employed here 23 years. I think one of the things that it has helped me is maybe help me to look at myself and just kind of figure out where I am in my head sometimes.
Right.
And also just where I am personally, and maybe tapping into some of the resources that the center has, or maybe some of the programs that they work with.
Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of felt the same way. I feel like I've been visually impaired since I was born, so I kind of already knew about all the resources and things out there.
Uh-huh.
But it just kind of it broadened um, my knowledge on other disabilities and the needs and importance of all that programming and the resources that we have. So I'm sure you're kind of along the same way with that.
To follow up with that, I had an experience several years ago that kind of brought this home for me. I never saw myself as being two different people in two different settings. And a good friend of mine, Dennis, who, if he ever sees this, he'll know who we're talking about, uh, is a sign language interpreter,
Okay.
and he's a professional.
Uh-huh.
And one afternoon, we were sitting around after a meeting, and he said, Porter, and we were also personal friends. This is what's unique about it, is that we run around together. And so he said, Porter, you're two different people. I said, what? I don't think so. And he goes, yes, you are. He says, "You don't have a split personality, but you're two different people."
Okay.
He says, "When you are amongst a non-disabled group, you are totally uptight and totally different."
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and he said, "When you are with a group of not or disabled folk who just have similar experiences, you're laid back and you're cutting up and having fun." And that has really impacted me. I've really thought about my presentation ever since.
Yeah, sure.
And I think I still wrestle with those moments, but now that I'm conscious of it, I'm able to work with it.
Yeah. I could understand that too. I feel like, for myself, like it's easier, you're more relaxed when you're with folks that understand disability and
Mhm.
kind of come from that same background. And then with other people, people can be judgmental or, there's so many things that can be involved in that. So it's just like I feel like it's more of your comfort zone.
It's a comfort zone. And I don't think anybody does anything purposefully to make you
Sure.
feel a little out of place, or
Right.
it's just
It's
maybe
just
it's
the
more me.
uneducation part of it too, not understanding.
Uh-huh.
But that's why you have to ask questions. And
Exactly.
some people feel like I know people are always like, "Well, I don't want to offend you." And I'm like, "No, please. I would much rather you ask questions and have a better understanding of how I can see or, in
Uh-huh.
any disability case, just so to enlighten themselves more and be more educated on the topic."
It's definitely a two-way opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. So, explain to the folks listening a little bit about your journey and what that's been like for you.
Uh, my journey.
And you can go back as far as you want, whatever's most comfortable.
Well, being born with a disability, it's just been normal for me to be disabled. I don't really feel disabled, but I don't like if I was to lose something today that was primarily important, I'd probably have to wrestle my head and start over. But for me, probably like you, just starting at birth, this is just a sense of normalcy.
Right.
So, repeat your question again.
Well, just what your journey has been like with a disability and
Okay. It's been hell. It's been tough. No 2 days are similar. Uh, there's been tons of good times. There's been tons of victories. Uh, so it's a mix of everything.
yeah,
Uh,
I
But,
understand.
but what life isn't pretty much like that. It's a mix of everything.
So, what about like misconceptions that people have about you?
That's kind of hard for me to, well, I can't say it's hard. Sometimes I obviously know they don't get it. And so I can work with that. But it's the gray zone that you're not really sure.
Right.
And you don't know if I guess learning to discern the gray zone is always the challenge.
Well, like, you know, from the time you get up, go to work, what is that process like?
Okay. Going back to your question, my daily routines are fairly the same every day. I wake up around 4:30, have some devotion time or some private time, uh, uh, listen to music, kind of get cleaned up, have breakfast, argue with the wife or apologize or whatever things go on in the morning. So things like that. Uh, I don't think my mornings are much different than most people's, and I don't think my life is much different than most people's when you're looking at outcomes.
Right.
Uh, just because I do it differently doesn't mean it's different. We'll play on the word, I guess, because when you look at outcomes or successes, if I crossed the finish line, I crossed the finish line. Doesn't matter how I got there unless I cheated.
What about unique challenges in your career or education?
I think the biggest challenge, career wise, education wise, is trying to get people not to look at me, not so much as disabled, because that's obvious, but getting people to comprehend that having a disability or not having arms doesn't mean that you're not capable.
Right.
Most people, and I do it too, I look at circumstances, and if it's what we call, quote, tragic, it's like, what? But really,
Doesn't seem that way to you.
not for me, it's not,
Right.
because I had a lot of good family behind me
Right.
and some educators. Uh, when I was in preschool, I went to KU, preschool for kids with disabilities. I probably started there when I was 1.5. And they've taught me a ton of motor skills, uh, some social graces, not too many, uh, things like that.
So did you attend that school from kindergarten to graduation?
No, I went to this school. It was kind of, at least in my opinion, I may not know this for sure. This is my opinion. I felt like the school for the kids was kind of an afterthought because most of us were there for therapies and rehabs because of our birth defects. And then when we were there or going there for years upon years, it's like, oops, we need to have a school. So that kind of, I don't know. Anyway, I left there and was blessed to go to public school in first grade.
Wow.
So
Wonderful. And then you finished.
I've got bachelor's degrees. So
That's awesome.
yeah, been blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. What about technology? Has technology played a large portion in your life?
Mostly technology has not played a big role in my life because I've learned to adapt, create my own adaptations to technology.
Is there anything specifically that the technology world has helped you with?
Uh, Not relative to my disability, but just relative to life, like anybody else. Like,
Sure.
hey, it's there. Let's run with it.
Right.
Uh
Right.
huh.
Okay. Great answers. All right. All right, folks, we got to take a break real quick. We'll be back after this message. At TWP Catering, we are more than just mouth-watering sandwiches and salads. We're on a mission to make a difference.
How do we do this? By empowering individuals with disabilities to learn essential cooking skills through our Employabilities program.
Every bite you take supports a brighter future for someone striving to be more competitive in the job market.
TWP Catering, where every sandwich, salad, and dessert serves a purpose. Order with us and make a positive impact today. It's catering with the social conscious.
All right, welcome back to our podcast with Porter here today. Let's rewind a little bit and go back to the gray areas that you about misconceptions that we were touching base on, but didn't really get into. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Thank you. So misconceptions, they come in all shades, shades, all sizes and all shapes. Uh, and I'm sure not only do I think others have misconceptions about me, I have misconceptions about them.
Sure.
So I think we all do. Uh, for example, this is a great example. Happens all the time. I'm standing out by my car and I just dug my car keys out of my shoe. I didn't dig it out of my pocket. And then somebody walks by and sees my key laying on the ground because I laid it there.
Right.
They run up to me and go, "Hey, can I help you pick that up?" And I go, "No, my hands are on the ground. These are my hands." And I'm not a smart aleck, but I just say, no, I got it because this is the angle that it works for.
Right.
But
Like you said earlier, like just because, we do things a little differently, I'm the same way.
uh-huh,
Then it's just not people aren't used to it. They're like, "Oh, they obviously need help." It's like, "No, clearly you figured it out or else you
yeah,
wouldn't be there in the first place."
exactly, exactly. And that happens daily.
Yeah,
Uh, and I don't have an attitude about it. To me, it's an opportunity to
exactly.
make a friend
Mhm.
and sometimes educate.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what about, let's see, like, we did talk about your morning routine a little bit. So, like, preparing breakfast, eating breakfast, drinking coffee, driving, like, all of these things, like, I'm so interested to know.
Okay. So my wife is a excellent cook. so I don't have to fool with making breakfast.
Oh, lucky
I
you.
just have to show up.
That's awesome.
Uh, but we sit around a table a little taller than this, and I just put my feet up there and feed myself. Um,
You must do a lot of yoga.
I don't
You
believe,
don't?
no, ma'am. I think because I've been doing this since birth,
Right.
it's just part of my adaptation. I'm very flexible.
Uh-huh.
I have noticed since I've gotten older, it's a little tougher.
Yeah,
It's a little tougher.
sure. So maybe yoga now.
Maybe. Or Bear aspirin.
Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
What about, driving? So I know you mentioned you somewhat touched base on it, but how exactly does that work for you?
For me, this is kind of unique, I think. I have no special controls on my cars, none at all. Uh, if I can go back and tell a story, when I was in my teenage years, I had gone to the vehicle motors. What do you call them?
DMV.
Yeah, DMV. I had gone there dozens of, maybe a dozen times, trying to get my driver's license, and they kept telling me no. So my car is legal. It's insured. It's licensed. I'm not. I'm not legal to drive it, but I drove it anyway.
Okay.
I drove for about 2 years illegally because I had to go to work. I
Right.
had to go to school. I had places to go. And I just was like, "Oh, I hope I never get caught because I'm gonna be in some dirt here." Uh, so, a couple of years of that, and they just kept saying no. And I'm like, "How am I gonna overcome this particular hurdle?"
Right.
And so in my meditation or in my what I would call a prayer, I was just like, "Help, help, what do I do here?" And this thought just blossomed in my head, and it said, "Go down and challenge them to a contest." And it was the same guy, same person for the last 2 years, and I said, "Sir, I want you to get in the car and go for a ride. I'm challenging you." I said, "If I don't get it this time, I won't come back until I have what you want me to, but I can't afford that stuff." This is the '70s. That stuff was expensive.
Right.
So he was chewing on his fat cigar, and he goes, "You're on." And he climbed in, and I took him around town, and I passed the very first time.
That's awesome.
Well, unbeknownst to him, I'd been driving 2 years
Yeah.
illegally.
He doesn't need to know that.
Yeah, so I had it down pat. Even the parallel parking.
Really?
Yes.
Impressive. Awesome.
Not really,
Good for
just
you.
practice.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know
anything with practice.
yeah, that's it. We'll come back to that thought. Uh, so anyway, he's like, "Wow, you passed." I said, "Yeah, I did, didn't I?" I said, "You owe me. Give it to me." And that's how I got my driver's license.
Well, congrats. That's awesome. Dedication. I mean, dedication and practice, it all
Well,
pays off.
you sparked a thought. For me, uh, growing up was just like anybody else. It was just trial and error, trial and error. It didn't matter if I was different. It was just trial and error.
Right.
And I learned that from watching everybody else around me. Huh, they had to do it twice. Well, maybe I can figure this out. And that's how I learned. And I've always been that way. I'm 65 and I'm still trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
And
Aren't we all? Everyone is, though, everyone has their own hurdles.
but
Just
I'm not
everyone's so
gonna
different.
quit.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
not gonna quit.
It's a mindset you have to have for sure.
Amen. Amen.
I don't drive clearly and I can't clearly legally,
Okay.
but when I was in high school, I had a friend who thought, yes, you can't drive legally, but if you're ever in a situation where you need to know how to operate a vehicle, she's like, I'm going to teach you how to drive. And I was like, cool, that makes sense. So she taught me how to drive and she drove a stick shift. So
Whoa.
not
Yeah.
only did I learn to drive, I learned to drive a stick shift. So
Fantastic.
so no, I mean, I grew up in a small town where, you can get away with driving around there, but obviously in the bigger cities, I wouldn't never attempt that.
What small town did you grow up in?
It's called Adrian. It's on the Missouri side.
My grandparents raised me down in Adrian.
No way.
I have tons of family still in Adrian.
That's crazy.
We'll
We'll
talk
have
sometime.
yeah, that's crazy. We probably know some same of the people.
I'm sure we do. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure we, because it's still a tiny town.
Oh, yeah.
Is
I'm
that
not a
weird or what?
that's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So what kind of advice would you give someone that's newly dealing with a disability?
Mm. Um, I don't know if I can speak from experience because having having this circumstance when I was born, I didn't have to start over. But I would say, you know, patience, patience, and then a little bit more patience.
Yeah.
Be thorough. Try not to react to your emotions because they'll bite you in the butt every time.
Right.
Try to distill things down to the facts and then work with the facts. And that's easier said than done.
For sure.
Because if you step on my toe, the first thing that's going to happen is an emotion.
Right. Right. What about hobbies and activities outside of work?
I have a ton of them.
Yeah?
Yes, I like to collect. I used to coach Little League soccer.
Aw.
I love that. I love watching the kids, especially the younger ones who don't know anything about the sport.
Right.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what age group?
well, the last group I taught was probably 4 to 6 year old kids.
Oh, that's fun.
They are a hoot of fun because they don't know how to play.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and that takes a lot of patience
Yes,
to be working with them and teaching them and have those attention spans aren't always there.
that's it. Your attention span. So one time we're having a game and I'm looking around for some of the kids and I look back in the backfield and one of the girls is doing cartwheels.
Yeah.
It's like, lady, we got a game going.
Right, right,
This isn't gym,
right.
you know? So, uh, all kinds of funny experiences. Other hobbies I wanted to mention, I play music and I'm halfway good. Uh,
What instrument?
I play the harp for the most part, the harmonica,
Oh, that's awesome.
but I do play keyboards as well.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
play anywhere or just at
Not
home?
much, just with my friends.
If I would have known this, I would have been after you to play at Expressions a few weeks ago.
Oh, well, maybe next year. Maybe
Now I
next.
know.
Uh, I'll start practicing now.
Yes. Wonderful.
Fishing, I love to fish. I think my real main hobby is just trying to do things that I've never done before and seeing if I can get away with it.
Yeah. I love that you challenge yourself. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like life gets boring if you don't have something to challenge yourself or work on.
Amen.
So, looking ahead, what hopes and goals do you have for yourself, or and it could be related to disability advocacy? Um,
My personal goals is I think I'm going to run for president
okay,
of the United States of America.
I support
This is
that.
my kickoff right here. No, I'm having fun. Uh, I am interested in, how do you want to say? I don't want to say I'm interested in politics, but I'm interested in advocacy.
Yes,
Not so much for the disabled, but just for good causes.
right.
You know, we have. I'm always conscious of what I'm saying, but I was thinking about this morning. Why can't we all just get along?
I know.
Uh,
I think that a lot to myself
yeah,
too.
if we're not hurting each other, why can't we get along?
Yeah,
And let's don't hurt one another and give us all a chance to see what we can come up with.
right. Are you involved in any community groups?
My wife and I do this thing called SAGE, SAGE. I call it the old folks group. But we just have a group of older people and we fiddle fart around and we do stuff. Like we may go to a rodeo this year. One of my friends, he says he wants to go to some auto races. Myself, I like to fish and goof off. So that's kind of just this summer's goals. Uh, Long term, I want to retire, maybe in 2 or 3 years. I also want to write a book, but I
As you
don't want to
should.
write another Gimp book. I hate Gimp books. Forgive me for being ornery.
What other ideas do you have for a book?
I'm working on. You ever heard of a Japanese haiku?
Yes.
I write haikus.
Okay.
I've even been published by Life magazine
Really?
many, many, many moons ago. But I want to take my haikus and then I want to put original artwork to it. Some of it my own original artwork, and then friends, and I want to publish it, and then I'd like to sell it and go on a speaking tour.
That's amazing. I
Yeah,
love this.
thank you.
I love this idea. Keep me posted on
I
that.
will. I
That's
will.
so exciting.
Thank you.
What about do you ever get any reactions or questions from kids?
All the time.
Yeah,
Kids, they're innocent.
they are.
Some of them have been taught how to ask a question politely,
Mhm.
and some of them don't know how to be
Well,
polite.
sometimes they're just at that age where they don't even though
Uh,
you can try to teach them, but they just don't comprehend exactly
you've probably been there.
what's polite. Yeah.
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 I like the kids that say "sir" or other ones like "dude," so you know which way the question is
Yeah.
going before they ask it.
Right. What have been some of the questions and comments?
Pretty much like any others.
Yeah,
How do you do that? Uh, Curiosity. And I
sure.
don't mind curiosity. That's how we all grow.
Right, I mean, that's how we learn.
Mhm. But it does depend on the question, uh, or on the kid that answers it. I've looked at some of them and say, you know what? Go home and think about it. Ask me this question more politely tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes they do.
Yeah,
Sometimes you never see them again.
right.
I used to do a lot of public speaking for high school and grade schools. Over the years, and actually adult audiences, I've spoken in 20 or 30 cities across the country. I've spoken to probably 10,000 kids, 2 or 3,000 adults. And it's just their curiosities.
Yeah, I think the kids, like, speaking to the kids, especially, like, in the middle school area,
Uh-huh.
as they're all just kinda learning themselves and
Exactly.
about each other,
Uh-huh.
and disability, like, in my high school, there was only, like, 2 people with disabilities, it's such a small school, and people are so curious, but also need to be educated and
Exactly.
understand how to treat people the same as you would anyone else.
It is. It's a matter of courtesy, and kindness goes a long way.
It does.
Curiosity is not a sin.
Right. All right. Well, is there anything else that you want to talk about today or add?
You know, uh, Probably when I walk away, I'll think I should have said that or said
That
this.
always happens.
I can't think of anything. What advice? You hit all the ones. Ableism. Ooh, you want to talk about ableism?
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
How do you interpret the word ableism?
I mean, I think anybody's capable of doing anything that they, like we've talked about, put your mind to
Uh-huh.
with enough practice or dedication.
I didn't mean to throw you off. I was just wanting to know what your definition is. To me, ableism, uh, I depending, kind of like with the kids, it depends on how it occurs. If
Right.
it's an intelligent occurrence, you work with it. If it's kind of a backward, stupid occurrence, you try to work your way out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's just
Uh,
all on how the question or comment is directed.
and it mhm.
'Cause sometimes it's hard. I mean, we everyone runs low on patience at some point, and if it's the wrong day at the wrong time, it's like, "Nope,
And
we're
I
not doing
usually
this."
run out about 11 a.m. every morning.
Well, I mean, you get up at 4, so that makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Porter, thanks so much for being here
Thanks
with
for
us
having me.
today. Yeah, we appreciate your time.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much for tuning in with us today as we interviewed Porter. Be sure to check out our website and our calendar. A few events coming up. As you know, we have rock climbing the first Saturday of each month. And then also we have bowling the third Wednesday of every month. You can go to thewholeperson.org to check out those events. There's a calendar spot for that. And then also, we do have our Big Deal Pickleball Tournament coming up on August 18th. So stay tuned for on our website for more details on that. Thanks and have a great day.